Hi guys. Tonight, in a very friendly environment, we're gonna dive deep into a not so friendly topic of fragrance fails. And this time, the brand on the chopping block is no other than our favorite, our cult leader and spirit animal of niche perfumery, SERGE Lutens. Gloves off, but jewelry is on. Let's get it started. I dare say nobody can blame me for not paying my dues in terms of making content, explaining, walking back and forth, all of the releases, the complications with the ownership and the bottle design and the reformulations and differing marketing strategies. I've paid my dues to the genius and the marketing engine that SERGE LUTENS is, owned by Shiseido these days. That said, I've paid my own money for those dozens of glass bottles with precious colored liquids in them. I have done and outdone in terms of trying to be fair and trying to find some way to be friends with all of them. As it turns out, I figured that SERGE LUTENS fragrances are akin to wizard wands in Harry Potter world, in a way that the wand chooses the wizard. Same with their creations. If a SERGE LUTENS fragrance doesn't like you, you better call it quits, because this is never gonna work, hon. Never gonna work. I have been circling around certain fragrances in their line for probably 7 years now, and yet only maybe 2 I've managed to befriend cautiously, and those that didn't work for me truly did not. Just But before we jump into the worst offenders, let's talk about my favorite cemetery, which is mediocre. Mediocre is not the word that we associate with SERGE LUTENS, and here he is in all his glory. Actually, here. If you're curious to learn more, watch a couple of my reviews, especially the latest one where I dive into his history. And this is one of the examples of a cult, truly unique, wonderful niche perfume houses that is not driven by a perfumer as much as by artistic director. So SERGE LUTENS is not a perfumer. He is a businessman who had an artistic vision, and he is kind of later stage career choices that led him to create his own brand under the investment umbrella of Shiseido. Most of the perfumes, if not all, I think all, are curated by their in-house perfumer Christopher Sheldrake, and a lot of them, according to the mythology of SERGE LUTENS, have this kind of melancholic, otherworldly, I wouldn't say demonic, but kind of like a melancholic, sad, poetic nature. True and not true, I would say. Like some, especially early creations, definitely. I think lately we've seen a lot of self-citations and flirtation with just trendy notes. Maybe I'm alone in that opinion, maybe not. But first things first, let's go through the ones that I do own and the ones that I find just plain boring, which for the high bar the SERGE LUTENS house has, I think it's a pretty bad sign. And I'm going to start with the one that I recommended a lot on this channel, and yet recently I finalized my meh impression of it. It's been years that I've been trying to redeem this. This is Vetiver Oriental by SERGE LUTENS. As much as I love the sophisticated coloring of their liquids, love the packaging, at least this one, not a big fan of the choices of fonts, but anyway. This is such a boring vetiver. It's such a cliche, forgettable vetiver. What part of it is Oriental? I don't know. When we hear Oriental, which again, probably not a politically correct word to use anymore, but in olfactory design, it's a genre. So I'm going to continue using that phrase. Oriental means that it's influenced by the culture of the East. We should expect certain types of spices, certain flavors of incense, yada, yada, yada. Where is all of that? Where is all of it? It's just a flat, slightly bitter, this kind of like dry grass vetiver and nothing else. It's just, and I've been using it and I've been trying to recommend it as a starting point. If you have like no reference point, what vetiver is. And like, I don't think anybody's growing vetiver in their backyard. Are we? Anyone? I don't. So it's a good starting point because it's a collectible, it's a high brow niche fragrance brand that is still affordable for you to buy, right? Like I recommend it for a whole slew of reasons, but not for the uniqueness of the gorgeousness of this vetiver fragrance. So for me, Vetiver Oriental by Serge Lutens should have been the meal for Serge Lutens. Vetiver can be such a cerebral, divine, conscientious, sad, stern, austere note. And yet this is just, the Vetiver Oriental is just so blah. Moving on. Another blah fragrance that I just can't figure out how to wear without rolling my eyes is Fleurs d'Oranger. And I did recommend it before, again, as a staple, because it's almost by the book Fleur d'Orange 101. It's a whole genre in perfumery. It's typical white floral. You can call it Fleur d'Orange, neroli, whatever you want to call it. All these flowers of citrus trees, that's Fleur d'Orange. And this is such a typical cliche, semi-sweet, semi-metallic jasmine type of scent that I fall asleep. Like I sprayed and I was like, okay, that could be Bath and Body Works. That could be anything, any brand that costs $10 a gallon. Why is this a standalone perfume in Serge Lutens line is a mystery to me. If anybody figured out how to layer it or how to get the hidden depths out of Fleurs d'Oranger, please let me know, because I'm just bored out of my mind with it. The next one that is blah, and it's my recent purchase. It's a big disappointment because I'm a big fan of the Waters by Serge Lutens. So he has these kind of icicles, and they repackage them so often that every fragrance I buy is somehow in a different bottle. Anyway, so they have a line of waters. Those are eau de toilettes, light, crisp, think colognes essentially, like light, citrusy, 3-note type of fragrances that are easy to wear. They're somewhat piercing, fresh, kind of like melting icicle quality to them, and packaged also in a quite illustrative fashion. And yet, the Le Tarmois is supposed to be this put together floral almonds. But to me, it's like cardboard boxes from IKEA with a plastic bag that contained almonds a century ago. It's just flat, industrial, and barely noticeable. Other waters by Serge Lutens, even though they are meant to be light, they are meant to not to dominate the room. They're meant to just be your echoes. But they have character, and they stay with me for quite a bit of time, and I really enjoy their profile. Here, is just nothing, like a cardboard box from IKEA. That's the best I can describe it. It's just why does this exist? Yeah, so L'Heure d'Armoire is my first big disappointment in the Waters line by SERGE LUTENS, and I'm now questioning if I should explore any more of that. I have 4. And one of them is, the second one of them is also here, which is their kind of famous one because it's deep blue, kind of this marine blue color, the deep ocean, and it's called, oh my god, Du Clou pour une Pelure. Could it be any longer? First and foremost, despite how cool the liquid looks, right? There's this deep teal shade. That's all great, but it really stains the clothing. It absolutely does. And the blue shade even shows up on the skin. It's a bit much, all right? Like maybe let's ease on the coloring agents here. I can't wear it because of that. The only way I managed to wear the Clou pour une Pelure was as a room spray, kind of just in any surface that I'm not afraid of staining. And it's very oily, piney citrus that it's the first piney citrus I really don't like because it's so oily and low frequency. I'm used to piney citruses being like a fresh fog coming through the mountain in the pine forest, and you're, slicing fresh lemons and eating them with sugar at 5 a.m. in the morning in the pine forest on the mountain. Something like that, something bergamot, something very fresh, very uplifting. This is just brings me down. And maybe this is Christmassy. Maybe I could see that, but to me it reminds me of those heating creams for back pain, and it's just not a flattering scent. I can sort of get it as a room scent, maybe deodorizer for shoes. I'm getting creative here, but it's just not usable for me as a personal perfume, and therefore doesn't really fit in their line. It's not really usable because of the staining, and then the profile, it's not the best work that they've done in my opinion, though it has character. It's just I can't make it work for myself. Also, all right, but could be much more interesting and better is La Couche du Diable. I mean, La Couche du Diable, like the name itself promises so much. And yet, these are sour, musky, dried prunes and nothing else. I mean, if you're gonna bring my dad's name into it, do him justice. What is this? No respectable demon will consider this seriously. This is just dried prunes with a dash of sour incense. Nothing to write home about. So my beloved demons, if you're looking for really deep gourmand that has otherworldly incense, I don't think this is it. I think we should look elsewhere. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. Right now, I think Tiger Nest by Memo is probably our best bet. That one is not as gourmandy as it could be, but so far the best I found. This is just a bit, it's okay. Just okay. You have to really love dried prunes in order to justify the purchase. I expected more. From La Couche du Diable, I expected more. Great. We've been through this so many times. Come on. Don't do this to me again. Only one diva in this shot, all right? Only one. And you're not it. You don't even wear SERGE LUTENS. It's not your house. The sheer audacity of that cat. All right. Doable, but really mediocre. session number 2. These are the ones that I've tried, I've decants off, or I passed on. Bought, sold, tried a decant, never bought a bottle. Okay. La partie c'est passé. Here I have a decant from Fragrance.net. I used to have their subscription. They used to have actually really decent selection of niche fragrances for just $10 for 8 ml. That was the fabulous era. Maybe not 10, maybe like $12, but those times are gone, I think. This is just a third self-citation of SERGE LUTENS. Because essentially this is a very sweet, this like typical rounded sweet ylang-ylangy amber that they do. Like all of their ambers are the same, at least to my nose, and it's kind of like candied amber. Same thing. It's just so cloyingly sweet. All kinds of sweets you can imagine. They also love adding candy, caramel, these like syrupy stuff you can find in Starbucks. That's what people add to their coffee. Like that could easily be one of the syrups that you can add to your coffee in Starbucks. It's just, we've done this so many times. Let's see, what year is this? I'm just like blinking here. Like, why do we need yet another one of the same kind? Yeah, it's 2018. La partie passée. I'm probably not saying it right. Yeah, so these like caramels with raisins. Hope you can see the pyramid here. And fruity amber. It's just so not my type of amber and so boring to me. It's all right. People who love caramel, if you like Olympia, Paco Rabanne, if you like Dolce & Gabbana The One, if you like all these like overly sweet, fruity, ambery caramels that are very, very candy, like very syrupy. It's a genre. Like it has a place in the world. It's just not something that I find to be truly exciting or elegant. And also this particular fragrance, it's 2018. And so they've done this like 5 times by now. Why are we here again? I don't understand. And if you really want to go there, this is a breakdown of how SERGE LUTENS does gourmands, which I'm really not a big fan of their gourmands. I find them to be nauseatingly syrupy. I'm gonna get so much flack for this, but I'm gonna say it. Depo, one of the most mysterious scents to date. If you look at what people write on Fragrantic or any other forums or any blogs, there are roughly 2 types of reviews. One's like, oh my god, freshly baked bread and milk, and well, like what? All I smell is this overheated burning caramel syrup, like liquid caramel, that is being poured on burned bones. It's kind of horrific. Where is the fresh baked bread? Like, I would love to have a fragrance that reminds me of those Parisian boulangeries, like those bakeries. Oh, that would be wonderful. Nothing of the kind. And this is why I say the SERGE LUTENS fragrances are like the ones from Harry Potter world. The wand chooses the wizard. For those of you who smell freshly baked bread and a frothed hot milk that you just like take a bite, take a sip, so jealous. I bought Eau de Parfum. That was one of my first purchases because it was such a cult status. And I tried and I eventually sold it. I kind of regret it because I probably would have kept trying. Maybe I would have discovered something. But by now, it's so hard to find. It's been kind of very rarefied in the fragrance community. And I decided to let it go. So you see like the same motif, this liquid syrupy Starbucks caramel here. Then we have Amber Sultan, the same idea. I don't know how they make amber so candy-like. Let's see, there's some kind of resins. Their interpretations of myrrh and raisins in the sandalwood, or whatever. It's just such an edible, syrupy type of amber. I know. Many esteemed critics and fragrance reviewers will start their amber top charts from Amber Sultan by Serge Lutens. I bought it. I tried. To me, nothing comes even close to L'Ambre Extreme by L'Artisan Parfumeur or Amber 114 by Histoire de Parfums. Other two very esteemed niche brands and those ambers are very highly praised. I'm completely aligned with the majority on those two, but the Amber Sultan to me is just Starbucks caramel syrup and nothing more. Just can't relate. And yet another one, which I bought them together. I bought Amber Sultan and Arabi and was lost to what's the difference. It was my younger years. I was not as my nose was not as well sniffed, and yet I don't regret it, and I have no desire of buying Arabi again. If we are choosing between something incensey and dry fruits, potentially Arabi is a slightly more interesting offering than Le Couche du Diable that I have in my hand. However, I can't say that I miss either of them. There are so many dried fruit fragrances that are done just as well, if not much better. So Arabi is also, to me, it's kind of a toss. I would not call it the most spicy, the most Middle Eastern opulence that I've sniffed in my lifetime. Nothing special in my view. And something that I was lucky to get either for free, somebody regifted that, or I think it was like that, and it was just smothering. Raahat Lukum by Serge Lutens. It is like Turkish delight in a bottle, plus a ton of vanilla syrup. It is believable. It is long lasting. Has a lot of projection. I regifted it to a friend of mine, which is rare for such a sticky Chloe gourmand to be appreciated by a male community. Though, correct me if I'm wrong, any of you who identify as masculine who is using Reach Deep Gourmands, reveal yourself. Raahat Lukum was his favorite. He couldn't find any replacement that he would deem worthy after that, so I made someone very happy for a very short period of time. I myself could not survive it. It was just too sticky, too cloy, too syrupy. And that's what, like, I keep having this impression that, like, the same with La Participe Passé, their gourmands are just too syrupy to my nose. Now we're going toward fragrances by Serge Lutens that could have been great, but something gone wrong somewhere. Nuit de Cellophane. It's one of their jasmines. They have, I think, 3 jasmine-centric scents. This is the bubbliest, kind of the youthful of them all. I bought a decant, 8 ml, used it all up. I had also a few smaller decants, also used them all up. It's all right. It's this tutti-frutti, bubbly, kind of synthetic, I would say, jasmine. It's playful through being kind of, like these like fake flavorings in the bubble gum. So add jasmine to it, like a typical white floral, and get Nuit de Cellophane. It's flirty but plain at the same time. I kind of felt that they were trying to be a Tat Libre d'Orange a little bit. Like a Tat Libre d'Orange is kind of known for those somewhat controversial but playful combinations of notes, like apples and rot, milk, vetiver, and dirty hair, incense and bubblegum. That's very much a Tad Liberderange territory of comfort. But it's Serge Luten's. You expect medieval poetry. You expect gothic demure. You expect kind of sad sentimentality to it. And it was just kind of like Escada o Moschino. There was nothing there that I could really grab on to call it complex or even flirty enough to be fun. It was not fun enough, but it was not complex enough. I couldn't relate. Same story here. Leverage the fur. This is lily and metal. It's like they were trying to beat L'Artisan Parfumeur. They also love metallic notes. Actually, Serge Luten's is notorious. Not notorious, like not in a bad way. Like they really like to play with metallicness aspects in the perfumery because it really is a nice contrast to any other more usual floral, fruity, whatever notes you're considering. So, but here it just came out flat, in my opinion. There's white lily, kind of watery, floral with a little bit of a metallic edge to it. It was just boring. It was just boring. I have so many more interesting lilies. So many. It was really, I bought 100 ml, tried to love it, didn't love it, sold it. Actually, I didn't sell it. I gifted it to a friend of mine who ended up wearing it casually. So I guess it worked out. Here's another one that my subscriber sent to me from her very private, precious collection, because this is the flacons of this shape, of the bell shape. They are, I think, most expensive offering to date. So El Atarine by Serge Luten's is animalic sweet honey. And I was so floored that she spared me, I think it was like 3 ml of El Atarine. And yet I tried, and I will just, out of sheer stinginess, I will finish it up, even though I'm not enjoying the scent. The sweetness here reminds me of Kilian, and again, they are like typical syrupy sweetness. Not a big fan. And this is another thing that Serge Luten's does really well if you like that kind of thing. If they go animalic, they will deliver. I think it's no coincidence because Serge Luten's adores Middle East. His famous, gorgeous villa, what is it? I think it's in Marrakesh. So anything Middle East is really, it's an important motif in their creations. And again, it creates a very rich tapestry with that you can kind of cut with a ripe medieval knife of his depression. So animalic tones in Serge Luten's perfumes are so animalic that I constantly have to wonder if I'm wearing a 2-week-old t-shirt after working out in it 10 times. I start questioning if somehow my cat peed somewhere and I didn't know about it. You know what I mean? Like I start worrying about bodily odors in uncomfortable situations that I should not be worrying about when I wear their animalic creation. So Elaterine is a very pea-like, super sweet honey. It's like a very generous dose of pea sweat added to this syrupy sweet honey. I just don't know how people wear this stuff. Like you have to have a very differently trained nose with vastly different associations or love that kind of medieval, nights smelling, well-worn underpants of their dames when they were touring with Inquisition or war campaigns. If you're in that kind of stuff, Animalics by Serge Lutens are the way to go. One of their most severe offerings is a triple musk. I think it's called Kublai Khan. I'm afraid of even trying that. If you tried, please share. So please share on our behalf so we don't have to. I am kind of curious, but I'm terrified. So yeah, they're Animalics. Not yet. Maybe if I go and live in Middle East for 6-7 years, I'll return a different person. Kind of likely, right? Our environment changes our perceptions, but nothing in my experience sends me to a happy place or to a place of comfort when I smell these components as Serge Lutens delivers them. So that's Animalics. Now we're going to their smoky notes, which I also find a bit not sour, salty, so bitter smoky that it almost feels salty. It's like the smokiness that borderlines on bitterness and an old salami, believe it or not. So Serge Lutens Noir belongs straight in that category. Tried a decant, tried a second decant, just could not do it. Then we go straight to even worse situation. This is just burnt at the steak barn with gunpowder. Had a full bottle of Baptême de Feu. Tried and tried. I just really wanted to like burnt smoke with gunpowder. I thought I would be so cool if that was my signature scent, and it just didn't work out that way. I sold that and never went back to it. Even Chergui, the beloved Chergui, which is a mulled wine essentially, super spicy, sweet, still has that bitter salami smoky note and the spiciness that just eats my brain. I bought a full-size bottle. I think Jean de Pau, Chergui, and Baptême de Feu were my first 3 purchases. And I think Féminité de Bois, which the latter, Féminité de Bois, became my all-time favorite. Just such an easy to wear, wonderful, delightful scent that has no analogs on the market to date. But these 3, just no. I have since discovered much better wine-centric, port-centric, spicy wine, alcoholic, kind of old-fashioned on Manhattan cocktail type of perfumes that are just delicious. This Chergui is not it for me. The smokiness reminds me of, bitterness and salami. The spiciness really annoy me. The sweetness is this rounded, sticky, syrupy sweetness. It's just all in all probably one of the worst gourmands for me from their collection. This magical wand clearly hates me. It's just, we cannot be friends. And now we're going to the fragrances that are just plain bizarre. They're not bad, they're not good. They're just so bizarre that, again, it kind of brings me to the territory of Etat Libre d'Orange and their Secretions Magnifique, the number 1 fragrance in the world that smells like semen. Check it out if you dare. La Religieuse by Serge Lutens doesn't really aim to shock, but somehow manages to do so because this is the smell of bleach. I bought a full-size bottle, and again, this has such a wonderful, delightful, sad story about him being an orphan and the nuns and all of the stories of very lonely, very asocial childhood that I felt so much emotional connection to the story, but not to the fragrance. This is a very nauseating smell of bleach. I tried and tried and tried. I could not make it work. Again, this wand just refused to acknowledge my sensibility altogether. And the next one which will probably gonna curb this critical activity for now, because I think I already lost all of my subscribers. This is the Tenderley Milk Teeth. The smell of minty toothpaste, blood, metal, and I think milk too. Actually, I don't think milk is in there. I don't think it has lactonic notes. Yeah, it's listed as lactonic. You can see it here. So I bought myself a decant of Tenderley because, again, I thought, wouldn't that be cool if I liked blood, milk, and mint? Sounds good to me. Sign me up. It's so synthetic. It reminds me of Nuit de Cellophane. You know, that like tutti frutti, synthetic, bubbly jasmine that they make? This is the same thing. It's like oddly synthetically kind of mindless. It's just reckless in a way, in a very youthful way. It's good because it's flirty through being so flirtatious, and I fail to decipher what creates the flirtatiousness of it. I think it's the piercing sour white musk with kind of like this mineral flavors, plus the vanilla, plus the sweetness. I like it way more on the blotter than I like it on myself. On myself, it really loses its edge and just becomes kind of weirdly synthetically blasé. But it does at times give me a whiff of a bleeding, you know, this taste that you get if you get a sore, or just like, if anything, if you get even a drop of blood in your mouth, you can taste it and you can smell it through the back of your throat. Like, we actually have smelling receptors in the back. It's kind of as if when you breathe in, you also get some smells. That's how we smell and taste our food too. So I get this weird sensation, and I thought it would be cool, but it's not. Every once in a while, tasting this kind of metallic-y, a drop of blood in your mouth smell, is not that fun in real life. And yet I keep walking around it, this particular one. I just want to like at least one of their weirdos, because I feel like all of my loves when it comes to SERGE LUTENS are these more palatable, more kind of well-balanced creations of theirs. And that's all good and fine, but like, I feel like I'm debonair enough, you know, I'm edgy, I'm cool this way. I could do this, and reality is I can't. Just can't. If you're interested in this profile, this is actually super trendy. It was super trendy like 2 years ago. So Tenderley, I got two super famous niche offerings that are way more expensive than Tenderley, that you can kind of compare it to. They are not dupes of each other, but they belong to the same family. These industrial mineral metallic base, it's not even a base, it's just kind of like a background, like a wall to which all of the other flavors kind of bounce from. You can get the same contrast plus something sweet, fruity, charming, right? Flirtatious. The same contrasts can be found in Nasamato Fantomas, which are these mineral disturbing, oh my God, kind of metallic pears, and Ganymede. The famous Ganymede that the fame of it actually came from Eastern Europe. I've never ever heard from anyone in the Western Hemisphere or Australia or anywhere from the English-speaking community about Ganymede until it became the best seller in Eastern Europe, and then they just start seeping in everywhere. So Ganymede, is the same kind of like disturbing dental office anesthesia kind of smell, with also certain type of abstract fruitiness. These are very cyborg kind of perfumes. They are very futuristic and synthetically abstract yet complex, and I think that's what gives them that appeal. They're very, very modern. They feel like the edge of sci-fi movies and TV shows. They certainly have a devoted fan base, and a lot of people tend to like them more in blind tests than after I describe it for half an hour, just like I did here. So you'll be surprised. You might like these kind of cyborg scents. So this is the trio that I would put on the same footing, and Dentalé by SERGE LUTENS was there first. I think we should acknowledge that. I have 3 generous decants. 2 came from my subscribers who just wanted me to have a reference of both Nasomato, Fantomas, and Ganymede, and Dentalé I bought myself. And I keep coming back to these because this is, again, I find that in terms of aesthetics, I do really enjoy the cyborg theme and the futurism. But when it comes to olfactory design, interesting to study, not so interesting to wear. Maybe that's just me. There's something that has to be a little bit more au naturel, or at least more fun or more hardy. These are just too cold in a way. There's no life in them. I just don't feel any soul, anything emotional in these perfumes. They're just pure AI. If you could place AI in a scent, these 3 would do it for me. So I hope this was helpful for those of you who are looking for something edgy, something super duper futuristic, contemporary. Dentalé could be it. I will continue to torture myself with all 3, but here is where I probably cut it with the SERGE LUTENS. I've tried dozens of them. I will continue to try them. This is the house that will continue to captivate my attention. And yet, it's been kind of half and half, I gotta say. And maybe even like 60% of the time, I don't really vibe with it. And 40% of the time, I can't get enough of it. And it's so hard to predict. It's a puzzle. This house continues to puzzle me a lot. I hope that was entertaining, somewhat helpful, and now it's your turn to share which of the SERGE LUTENSes is just not for you. It's not gonna happen. Let's not try this affair again. Can't wait to see your lists of things that just can't work, and you decided enough is enough. I can't be the only one who tries and fails and tries and fails again and fails again and fails again and fails again and eventually says, maybe it's time to move on. Time for our beloved groovy outro. So you have enough time to click on that like and subscribe buttons and leave a comment. I know that as soon as the video ends, YouTube tends to just swoosh you to a new one or to another universe. So enjoy your time, enjoy the tunes, and I will be not so patiently waiting for your comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And Gray, we talked about this. This is not your chair. You can't just come every 5 minutes and start eating that microphone. We need to communicate. Remember our last therapy session? You need to communicate. You cannot just come and eat the mic. It has to be our decision. We're in it together. If you're eating the mic, I'm eating the mic. I'm not eating the mic, so you're not eating the mic. See? Kids.
Hey there, you've reached the end, but don't just depart. Hit like, subscribe, it's a way to take part. Your support, your love, it's an art. Together we grow, play our part in this job. It's more than a click, it's a bridge, a connection, a way to sustain. To fuel this direction, each light, each soul. A show perfection, we're in this together, seeking perfection. Like and subscribe, be the vibe, keep us alive. In this digital sea, it's how we thrive. Your support is the core, the drive. In this world of content, we're the prototype. Donations, contributions that keep the lights on. Fueling our passion from dusk till dawn. It's not just content,